Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am Jeff Dawson, your host, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your breakfast bankroll from Cape Cod to Cancun, from Tampa to Taipei, from Vegas to the Vatican. We got you covered from start to finish, opening to closing, steam, fade, contrarian, you name it. We got it here today. Hope everyone enjoyed your extra hours sleep. We'll be staring at the walls, don't worry, later tonight, trying to fall back to sleep. But a good day, an amazing day in college football yesterday. I want to bring our co host in to talk about that. I had a list that I wrote here yesterday, time stamped if you go back on the show yesterday to review good analysis, good breakdown, and good results. So without further ado, my co-host, Mr. Scott E. Webb. Scotty, my brother, what is happening?
Morning, Jeff. How are you today?
I am doing great. I don't like the fall back because at 4:30 tonight, I will look outside the window and it's going to be pitch black. But that's all I know is that as each day progresses, a little more light will be on the scene. So when we get back to spring and we fall ahead, spring ahead, I'm sorry, we will be inching closer to someone like yourself in Florida.
Well, I can tell you that we don't down here. I mean, I know that we abide by the whatever they call that, the time zone change, whatever. But at the same time, it doesn't get to be dark here at 4:30. It'll be dark, 6-ish or so. So it's not too bad that way. It was a good day of college football though yesterday. I can tell you that.
I got the list right here. And I'm just going to read down the list. And then obviously after our show, I added and subtracted. And what we do here is we call it the spaghetti strainer. It really is. Listen, I could have listed all 12, 15, shipped them out, but I don't like putting our bankroll in that much risk. And the second part of that is, well, all right, we'll send out 4 or 5 of them as full 1-unit plays. Then we'll send out the next 3 or 4 as half-unit plays. And then the handful will take swings that will just be quarter plays. It just gets to be a mind, where for us, wrapping up our 6th year here, it's always been 1 unit, one unit per game. That's it. Occasionally we'll step on the gas, but when you really start to try to outweigh each play, because we all have the same process, you do the same thing every day like we do. I think you're really testing fate that way, Scotty.
Yeah, I think there are times where you sit there and you go, "Holy shit, this play's better than the other one," and I'm okay with when you feel like you have a bigger edge than what you normally have to go out there and take a little advantage of that. I used to do, and I still do. I do 1 and 2-unit plays, but very, very seldom do I put out a 2-unit play. But the 2-unit play isn't really 2 units. So let's just say you're $100 better, just to make math easy, and every play you make is $100 bet. So you go, holy shit, this game is I got a big edge on this game. I gotta play it. So if you put $200 on that game, does that really make your edge better? In my mind, I get it. You're putting out $100 more than what your normal bet is, but the play in your mind, because so let's just say you make, I don't know, let's just say you make 3 plays every day, right? Just to say for whatever, and then for a week let's make it 20 plays for a week. So if you got 20 plays for a week times 50 weeks, you're going to have what is that? 1,000 plays. Mm-hmm. So if you have 1,000 plays and you're betting $100 a game, right? Then you got, what is that? $100,000 you're going to end up betting. So then what you're telling me is that when you have this 2-unit play, right? And I don't know how many of those you have a year. Maybe you have 3 of them. Maybe you have 4 of them. I don't know. Or maybe you have 10. Well, let's just say it's 10. So if you have 10 and you're betting $200 on those plays, you're betting $100,000 on a normal year, and now you're going to go and bet $2,000 on your best plays. That makes no damn sense. So my point is that, you can call it whatever units you want to call it. But if you don't step out and really step out, then you're doing yourself a disfavor. So I like to call it a 1 unit play, 2 unit play, but that 2 unit play is going to be $500, $600, $700, $800, something like that, even though I'm making a normal $100 bet. So and that's the reason why, right? I mean, the play, and ideally, if you make 10 of those plays and you win 8 of those plays, holy shit, you did great. But that was the whole idea. And history tells you what a good play is and what a bad play is. So it's not in your mind what is a good play. It's over the course of time and this data that you keep track of with all your own bets and where you're hot and where you're not. And what's happening allows you to go, holy crap, this fits that criteria, that this is one of those games. And then all the fireworks go off and you go, holy crap, here's $800 on this game. And then you just play it out, and it's just like anything else. You win, you lose, you do whatever, but that kind of win, if you're playing $100 a game and you win 800 on one, that's going to help your bankroll that week.
Yesterday, North Carolina, we got them at minus 138 on the money line versus Wake Forest. Listen, they were down 18, counted out. Was not for the faint of heart. First one to 50 plus wins, and that was North Carolina, 1-0. Memphis plus 4.5. We talked about against SMU. Covered and won the game outright. Tennessee money line against Kentucky. Pretty much box to wire, little grab ass back and forth. Tennessee kind of held its own on that one. We talked about Purdue, plus 3 minus the hook against Michigan State, plus 125 on the money line. Scratch Auburn plus 5. When we finished the show, by the way, if you ran over and turned on game day, every one of those guys was on Auburn. So right away, stay away. and the more I dug into it, that was a big public play. Washington plus the 7.5 against Oregon. Again, as that day progressed, a lot of guys, especially on social media, were on Washington. Bad rain. Oregon ended up covering. Washington had a good chance to cover and didn't. This is another one. Hats off to both of us. Wyoming plus 3.5 versus Colorado State, plus 135 on the money line. Box to wire on that game there. And then I started doing more research on that game. Wyoming team total was over 17 and a hook. God, they had that by third quarter easy. I had jotted down later on in the day, we had UTSA minus 7 first half against UTEP there. But overall, I just great day. And what I want to tell everyone is this. To get to Saturday, okay, you still have to go through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Okay, so what separates myself and Scotty is the fact that we don't just jump like today is the NFL for the most part. There's still NBA and NHL going on. Tomorrow is Monday, so mostly everyone will be concentrated on the NFL. And then obviously sprinkle in the NHL, NBA. Tuesday and Wednesday, again, return of the MAC. My point is this is, as we are talking right now live, in the next hour, Circa is releasing their college lines for next week already. So my point here is this is, we get those Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. So while you're enjoying family day, while you're going out playing golf, while you're watching your fantasy football teams, how they're doing, we're already on to next week in the college games. So we're put in 24, 48, 72, 108 hours into that football card on Saturday. It's not wake up Saturday morning, turn on game day, see what the Bear has to say, see what Kirk has to say, see what the old man, what hat he's putting on. It's day-to-day grind and work. Okay. This is what you get here. You get a lot of education on a daily basis and some entertainment, a joke here and there. My point is, we don't stop. We don't stop. And it just shows when you're dealing with 100+ games and you can shorten it down to 5, 7, 9 games, and you can put together those 7-2s, 8-1s. Yeah, my sermon's over. I apologize.
No apologies necessary. I mean, I always tell people that they always go, well, how many games do you play? And I always go, well, it depends on the day, because value comes in where you see value, and you play however many games there are that have value. If it's 5, it's 5. If it's 1, it's 1. If it's 0, you go on to the next day. So if it's 9, you got to play 9. So it's just the way it is. There is no set number. There's a number you feel comfortable with, but that's not how it works. You have to take your swing when you have your shot and then you think it's your right spot. And it doesn't matter whether it's 4 games, 6 games, 10 games, or 1. Take your shot and then go on to the next day, and then learn from the shot that you took. If it was a bad shot, then you go, oh shit, that didn't work out. So why didn't it work out? And then you go, well, I just misread this, or I played too high on the value of that, or whatever weighting scales you use when you're trying to handicap your games. You've got to then adjust off of that, just like a batter does when he sees pitches, right? I mean, he's going to be better the more he sees, the more pitches. In theory, if you're not a better gambler, the more gambling you do, then you're doing it wrong. So our job when we're out here is to be consistent on a lot of things we say, and to shed light on some of the things that we talked about. One of the games I remember we talked about yesterday, I think it was that Oregon game with Washington, and we talked about it, and I started looking at the numbers, and we broke it down, and we said, you know what? On a normal situation, this Washington team should be in a pretty good spot here, but they're not very good on stopping the run, and that's exactly what happened yesterday. They got run all over. I think one of their guys got, I don't know, it was over 300 yards rushing against them. So you're not going to win football games like that. But at the same time, that's doing your homework. That's understanding what the matchups are like. And that's kind of finding the right avenues to go. And it doesn't matter what the Twitter guys are out there telling you or what anybody else says. You do what you need to do and what is right. And then you go on and hope that it works.
Amen, amen, and amen. Maybe we'll pass a second basket today. How's that?
Makes sense to me.
All right, let's dig in. It's Sunday Fun Day. It's the NFL. I'll go over to our friends at Wager Talk again today. And just to set everyone straight here, for the mindset where I am today in ECSI. We rallied the troops, had a little tough week to start, couldn't get any traction early, but we're on a 6-2 weekend, currently plus 1.4 units for the week. So for some, that's like, wow, okay, and well, now what today? Here's the point. We are investing the 0.4 in a nice Sunday Fun Day action parlay. We are grading out plus 1 unit. If we hit the parlay, whatever it pays, it pays. My point is it's another week of profit for us here. It's a day-to-day, week-to-week grind. And Monday is a new week, a new start, a new beginning, and we are going to be in the green. We call it Envelope Monday, and we can't wait. So the board is yours, my brother. Take it away.
Well, I think you got to be real careful on this board today. We probably say that every Sunday, though. I imagine. I don't know if we do or not, but we probably do. Sunday is Sunday's a tough day. It's tough in the NFL. The NFL draws the most money. It has the hardest lines to beat, and truthfully, in my world, Sunday's tough to beat in baseball too. So something about Sunday. It is what it is. But anyway,
Hence
that being said, go ahead.
Hence why we call it Quicksand Sunday.
There you go. It can trap you for sure. And I think there's some games out here that looking at numbers and the way that betting action's going and what the hell's happening here, it's a little odd. Now, I made 3 plays and I had a whole bunch of other situations, and that just kept scratching them off. One of the things that I want to talk about is the Texans and the Dolphins. And the reason I want to talk about this game is because whether you side with either one, whether you side with the Texans or you side with the Dolphins, you got to remember one thing. We talked about at the beginning of this show. You got 1 unit bets, and then you got 5. You got these games that you want to bet a whole bunch of money on. So it's one thing if you want to bet a 1 unit game on teams that absolutely are horrid. And then if you sit there and you start to look at this game and you go, oh my God, this is the best game on the board today. This is the best game I've seen all season. I'm going to put my big shot. It's going to be right here on the Miami Dolphins today, and blah, blah, blah. Well, just remember, there's a reason why they suck. And there's a reason why the Texans are even worse than the Dolphins. And if you're going to bet these games, the consistency from game to game is not as same as it is when you bet on the better teams. And what I mean by that is not that you can't bet better or worse teams. It's just now you got worse teams as a favorite. And when you're betting on a worse team that's a favorite, that's an uncomfortable spot. And I would never bet on the Texans ever anyway at this point, because that kid that's quarterbacking for that team, I think, Jeff, you could go out there and do better than he does.
Taylor, just a FYI, Tyrod Taylor's probably coming back today.
Oh, well, that would be great if he plays, because if he plays, that puts Texans in really good shape. And maybe probably why it's 5.5 instead of 7. But at the same time, Tyrod Taylor, he's Tyrod Taylor. I mean, shit, he's what, Geno Smith? So, I mean, I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean, he's the same guy. Maybe younger and maybe a little more athletic or something, but theoretically he's the same guy. So I guess what I was trying to say is word to the wise to those of you who think you have an edge when you're betting on teams that are not very good, because a lot of times they don't play to what you think they're going to do from week to week to week to week to week. And your job is not to bet on them when they're a favorite. You want to bet on them when they're an underdog, when they are in a spot where the favorite doesn't have a reason to play hard. So that's where you want to bet the bad teams. So anyway, that was just a food for thought kind of idea. One of the things that I looked at today, you got the Dallas Cowboys, it's -10, and you've got the Buffalo Bills -14 or 14.5. Those games are already past where you want to bet them if you're betting on the favorite. I mean, I get it. I looked at it. I'm like, Cowboys -10. Well, that's a pretty fair number now. And then I looked at it in the Buffalo Bills -14.5. Turns out it's a pretty fair number. As I looked at it, if they were the Bills -10.5 or Cowboys -7.5 earlier in the week, that was the time to play them. The time to play them is not today. So if you're not liking the underdog side of either one of those two plays, I think you pass on those games. So for me, that knocks 1, 2, 3 games right off the shelf. I'm not even going to even bother with those 3 games. So ended up where I'm trying to figure out what to do in the game with the New England Patriots and the Panthers today. And I started my calculators and all my different things, and it turns to everything tells me to play on Carolina today. And then I started looking at the matchups and doing other things, and that sort of sheds a different light. So I decided that was a game that I didn't want to play. So I'm not playing that one. And then I looked at the Vikings and the Ravens, and what everything that I'm looking at on that game says that the number's about right. I mean, it's what, 6.5, something like that at this point. So that one I stayed clear of. So now I'm down to just a few games left. So the game that I can't figure out, but I bet anyway, is the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns. So I bet the Cincinnati Bengals, and I got them at -2. It's now, I think, down to -1, but I bet it at -2. And when I bet that game, there's a couple of things that I had in mind here, and I'm looking at a lot of different things. So, in college football, we've been talking about EPA, and we've been talking about it a lot. So in the NFL, I break down these games by the last, say, 5 games they've played, not the entire season. So when you look at the EPA in the last 5 games these teams have played, on offense for Cleveland, they rank 20th. That's not very good when there's only 32 teams. So they're worse than average. But Cincinnati ranks 4th. So they've been very good over the last 5 games. But on defense, Cincinnati, who's been good most of the season, ranks 24th over the last 5 games, and the Browns rank 14th. But I only have to cover 2 points. So I like the matchup where the Cincinnati Bengals are ranked 4th on offense. Cleveland ranks 20th on offense. So that gives me an edge where I'm pretty good when it comes to that matchup. And then I took it a little farther. And you have what's called offensive success rate. And I don't care about the rushing success rate. I'll talk about that in a minute because it comes up in another game. But Cincinnati is 13th on offensive success rate, and Cleveland is 18th. So it's 12th for Cincinnati on the pass, and Cleveland is 16th. So the difference is going to be on the defensive side against the pass. Cincinnati is not quite as good. So that's where a little bit of edge falls back to the Browns. But that's based on a full season's worth of work, not the last 5 games. And then when I looked at DVOA, the numbers that come out from Football Outsiders, I got really confused. So I relied totally on my calculators here in this game. And my yards per point calculator projection was 28-21 for Cincinnati. And then the next one came out, which is the yards per play calculator, came out 28-21. So I'm looking at Cincinnati by a touchdown. I only have to cover 2. So I went ahead and I played Cincinnati Bengals -2 in the early slate. That's the only early slate game I played, Jeff.
You're breaking down everything, and you're saying the same thing and seeing the same thing that I do. I can go from Monday to where we are today. The Miami Houston line movement was predicated on Tyrod Taylor coming back. Dallas, Denver, that initial number was obviously Dak's playing today. There is a question mark on CD Lamb, but it is what it is. I think they'll be fine even if CD doesn't play. You talked about the Pats and Carolina. There was rumors that Walker was going to be QB and CMC was coming back. Well, I just got a note here. Carolina Panthers, Sam Darnold, shoulder probable. So is Darnold and CMC both playing today? The Minnesota-Baltimore game intrigues me because Baltimore was a wagon, has a hiccup. Minnesota lays an egg against Dallas. That number has not moved off of 6. And the total opened at 49.5, and it's 50.5. So that game intrigues me. You want to bury Minnesota. Their season's over. Ravens, good matchup. But that number hasn't moved off of 6. Buffalo, Jacksonville, when I see numbers like that, I just turn the page. The Cleveland, Cincy, again, to me, just to me. Opened at 3's been bet down to 2, now 1.5. All the drama all week with OBJ, he's gone. A team that Cleveland is now 4-4, a desperation team. Are they going to drop to 4-5, or can they, get to 5-4 and then, match where the Bengals would be? Kind of reminds me of Pittsburgh last week when they went into Cleveland. Desperation, and that line keeps dropping. So I'm just looking at those 1 o'clocks. I guess, Scotty, you know what I want to ask you? That New Orleans line opened at 5.5. It was really 6 the whole time. It moved to 6, 6.5. New Orleans is getting a lot of steam now. They're to 7. I think Atlanta's sneaky here today. Is it me, or do you think that actually on paper that it matches up to what you're seeing?
Well, I have a harder time. I shouldn't say it that way. That's not the right way to say it. The best way to say this is that this is a divisional game where the two teams are going to play each other twice. These teams will play each other over and over and over and over and over and over and over. I look at it like New Orleans played the best game that they're going to play all season last week. They're not going to play that good this week. It doesn't matter. Even if they play good, they're not going to play that good. So I think what a lot of people are doing is betting on what they've seen the last time they've seen them play. And then they're betting on, man, I've heard Atlanta's terrible. I heard Atlanta. They ain't even seen Atlanta. So if you haven't seen them, they have black jerseys, by the way, and they have black helmets. So if you haven't seen them, that's what they look like. But that being said, that was just a joke. But, that being said, I think that Atlanta, because they play in the same division, has every bit of a puncher's chance to hang in here with this number. My calculators don't tell me that, but when I looked at matchups and so forth, what's interesting here is the reason that the Saints are winning or have won in the past, not that that their greatest team is since sliced bread. They don't have an offense. So they have to play great defense, and that's what they've been doing. Their offense on success rate, for example, is 27th out of 32 teams. And they're 19th out of 32 teams passing the football. But their defense is number 1 in DVOA and number 6 the last 5 games in EPA. So that tells me a lot about why New Orleans is winning these games, which tells me that a team like Atlanta that they don't have scoring prowess, they just have a good quarterback. So a team that has a good quarterback has an opportunity to hang in there. And then when I looked at, okay, well, what's the adjusted sack rate look like? So are they going to put pressure on the quarterback? Well, the Saints ranked 20th. Not that the Falcons are going to rush the quarterback. I'm not talking about their defense. We're talking about the Saints defense. The Saints defense just doesn't put pressure on the quarterback, but plays that we're going to give up 3 yards, 4 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, and eventually you're going to have to punt kind of thing. So then they're going to rely on their offense to kind of do some stuff. And I think it's going to be one of those games where I think that number has already, what was that? What was the opening total? Wasn't it like 45.5 or something like that? Now it's down to 41 or 41.5.
Opening number was 45 and a hook. I got 43 at Circa, 43 at Westgate, 42 and a hook at South Point, DraftKings, Caesars. There's a flat 42 at Pinnacle right now. So that's Pinnacle's next move is down to 42.
Well, this morning when I plugged in the numbers, it was 41.5. So that means people are betting it up a little bit, which I wrote down on that game, Atlanta, New Orleans over 41.5. And of course, now I didn't bet it. And now it's at 42, 42.5, 43. It's too late to bet it. So I think that it's intriguing in a sense that that's not 7 yet, right? It's still 6.5.
No, 7 plus 100 at Circa, flat 7 at Westgate. You can get it at 6 and a hook at South Point and at WinBet. But everyone has just made the move. Pinnacle made the move to 7 minus 102.
So let me ask you this question. I'm looking at the website that I gave you there a little while ago, pregame, that allows you to break some stuff down. And they don't have, and again, a qualifier here. Pregame, their database has access to 4 or 5, whatever it is, casinos, not a whole bunch of them. But what's interesting is they can actually tell you how much dollars is bet and where it's bet, and then they can tell you certain things. So if a line got moved, after the line moved, how much has been bet and all that stuff, which is pretty cool. But what I'm showing on that website right this second is 73% of the money. 73% of the money is on the Falcons, and the line still keeps moving towards the Saints. So it tells me that the ticket count is 52% on the Saints, but the money is all on the Falcons. So does that mean that they're doing an okey doke here and they're saying that they want more money to be bet on the Saints, or is that I don't know. I don't know 100% what that means. So if the Falcons are taking on money at 72% of the bets, and the line keeps moving to the Saints, does that mean that the certain guys are in there betting on the Saints? Or I can't imagine that the sports book wants more. Maybe they want more money on the Falcons. I don't know. You're better than I am.
Yeah. So what that is basically, it's a 50-50 split, 52-48 split on the tickets, but all the money's coming in on the Falcons. So, but the line's moving the opposite way. So we definitely call that reverse line movement. You might be getting 52% of the bets. So let's say you're getting 48% on New Orleans, and you're only getting 33% of the money on New Orleans. So that would mean you're getting 67% on Atlanta, but the line's gone from 5.5 to 6 to 6.5 and 7. So they keep moving the line to entice Falcon money. That's what they're doing right now. They're like, come on, okay, we'll move it to 7. Hey, here's the problem though. It probably won't go to 7.5, because once it goes to 7.5, then you'll get more sharper, heavier players to grab that extra hook and say, okay, I might have had New Orleans at 5.5, say, and now you're going to give it to me at 7.5. I'll go in and get the Falcons now at 7.5 and hope the game lands on 6 or 7, and then they got the perfect middle.
Well, so long story short on that game, I said, there's too much shit happening here. There's other opportunities. Let me go find another game. So that was my 1 o'clock ordeal. And then my later games, there's only 3 of them, right? And then I'm sitting here and I'm going, well, that Chargers and the Eagles game to me is an intriguing game, because I think the public loves the Chargers. And I think they love Herbert. And I think that that's one of these teams that, if you can do it right, you're going to be in good shape. So the Chargers opened at -3. And then when I bet this game, Philadelphia was +1.5. So I'm like, okay, well, people are betting on coming in on the Eagles now. And so when I bet it money line. I didn't take the 1 point or 1.5 points. I bet it money line, Philadelphia Eagles +110 to win the game. So I started looking at this game and I go, you know what? There's not a whole lot of difference between the Chargers and the Eagles. And I sat here and I thought to myself, when did the Eagles get good? And then I thought, well, does that mean that the Chargers are good? No, that means that both of them probably aren't as good as everybody thinks the Chargers are, and they probably are a little bit down on what the Eagles are. So here's kind of a rundown here, right? The Eagles put pressure on the quarterback 5th best in the NFL, so that's pretty good. And then when I looked at offensive success rate, the Chargers are 21st in the league and 24th passing. That's not as good as you thought they probably were. And when you start to look at what the Eagles are, they're 10th in the league and 27th passing. So if they're 27th passing, Jeff, that means they're pretty damn good running. And it turns out they are number 2 running the football. And when you vice versa flip that and you go, well, how does the defense do for the Chargers? The Chargers on defense against the run, they're 32. So there's your edge for the Philadelphia Eagles to kind of move the ball. So I went ahead, I played them at home. If the Chargers have to play on the road over here on the East Coast, these teams, because I'm a Raider fan, always know that these teams that come out here from the West Coast to the East Coast, they just don't play well, especially if it's a 1 o'clock game. Now, this is a 4 o'clock game, so they got a little bit of edge that way. And then the other game that I played, and I played for one specific reason. Well, I shouldn't say one, couple reasons. I played the Arizona Cardinals today plus the points. And I know I don't really care if Kyler Murray plays. If he plays, great. If he doesn't play, he doesn't play. And I don't care if the wide receiver plays. If he plays, he plays. If he doesn't, he doesn't. The reason isn't that I don't want those guys to play. The reason is because Arizona's defense ranks 3rd in the NFL. And their number DVOA, they're number 2. I'm sorry, they're DVOA number 2 and EPA number 1 over the last 5 games. They're playing the best of all of them on defense for the most part, other than the Bills. So when you start to think about what does San Francisco look like on offense, you got to ask yourself, what do they look like? Because they rank 24th on success rate, 31st passing, and then they rank 24th in EPA on offense, and their defense isn't that good either, 19th. So I kind of look at it like you're going to take the 5th ranked EPA offense in Arizona, and I get it, they're not going to be the 5th ranked EPA offense in Arizona with Colt McCoy at the quarterback spot and some other guy at wide receiver, but they're still only going to face a below average defense. And then you're going to put the number 1 defense basically in the NFL out there against an offense that's pretty one-dimensional. And then you're going to tell me I can get points? I'll take them. So I took the 3 points in that game. And those are the only 3 games I bet today.
Yeah, and looking at the 4 o'clock slate again, the Chargers-Philly game makes no sense to me. A Philly team that got fat on the Lions, a Chargers team that get whooped by the Pats. I do know a lot of sharp contingencies in Vegas do 2 things. When the Chargers are at home, they bet against them. When they're on the road, they bet on them. But the public's all in with Philly today. The Green Bay-Kansas City game, again, Kansas City limps home with a win against the Giants on Monday, doesn't cover, open up a 1.5-point favorite. Overnight and in the morning, Green Bay flips to a 1.5-point favorite on Tuesday. COVID and Rodgers out. Kansas City flips to a 7, got pushed to 7.5. Now it's back to 7 all across the Vegas Strip there. Arizona, San Fran, 2 things. Arizona opened up 3-point favorites, now 3.5-point underdogs. 2 things, I think. Murray is not playing and Hopkins isn't playing. So that's why you got the flip there. I'm hearing Kittles could play. Jimmy G should start. A San Fran team that's on life support right now, really struggling. An Arizona team that I think is okay with, in their minds, to have Murray and Hopkins take off, even though it's a divisional game. Dangerous, but we'll see what happens there. And then the late game, Tennessee and the Rams. Listen, this Tennessee team just doesn't quit. It just hangs around and finds a way to beat you. Now, no Henry. So the line opens up roughly around 4. I'm seeing 7.5. That true line was not 4. Once Henry was announced that he was out for the year, they pushed that right away to 6.5. It's now 7.5. I guess on paper, the addition of Von Miller with Donald, home game Stafford, you're supposed to, maybe I assume the Rams will be one of those heavily played on the money line parlay cards, on the teaser ends, on that end. Don't have a good feel. I mean, I expect the Rams to win. I do, but I can tell you this. I've been on the wrong side a few times of that Titans team this year, and especially last week. We were on the Colts, and Colts were up 14-0, and this team doesn't quit. But that's the NFL in a nutshell. That's why we call it Any Given Sunday. By definition, these are paid athletes. These are professionals that every Sunday get up and they do battle. And I'll go on a limb right here. Okay. Baltimore is favored by 6 over Minnesota. New Orleans is now up to 7, 6.5 against Atlanta. Okay. I'll throw in Tennessee too. 7, 7.5. My point is one of those three, Minnesota, Falcons, or Titans, one of those three will win outright today.
Well, I don't think that's too far off. I mean, it's the NFL. These teams aren't the biggest differentiation in the NFL is defense and quarterback. You can say what you want to about running backs, and you can say what you want to about other things. But if you don't have a defense and you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to do very well. And then it's the offense and defensive lines. And then you can start looking at running backs and wide receivers and, stuff like that. Because ultimately what travels with teams is defense, right? I mean, if you're gonna go from city to city and place to place, the defense is going to play. And then it matters kind of who is who's been playing who and what kind of schedule you've had. And Tennessee's had a rough go. I mean, they've had some pretty tough teams they've played against already. And some of these teams have had nobody that they've played against. And then you look at it and go, well, what do their numbers really mean if they haven't played against anybody yet? Well, we're about to find out, some of them. So I think an interesting game is the Raiders-Giants game. I mean, that's 3 points. And I think that on paper, it's my calculators come out and they say the Raiders win by 2. But I still think it's one of these scenarios where how can you pass this up where you got the Raiders and their offense against the Giants who can't move the football? Well, I mean, it's just not that way all the time. So you just got to play into it a little bit. Really look at divisional games like this Browns-Bengals game. I like the idea that I think Cincinnati's trying to do something they haven't done in a long time. They beat Pittsburgh, right? And then they beat the Ravens too, pretty good. So I think that this is one of those spots where the Browns are going to go, well, we're going to beat you down again. And then the Bengals have something to prove, right? So I think the Bengals are going to play pretty good in this game. I think Joe Burrow is a much better quarterback than Baker Mayfield, and I like the Bengal defense. So those are the things that I kind of start stacking up. No matter what my calculators say, it's got to start to go, hey, how can I support those numbers that the calculator says? And I look quarterback, defense, stuff like that, and that supports those numbers. And then I sit there and go, well, that makes that a play. Because sometimes you look at it and you go, well, that shit don't match up. That ain't going to happen. And then you go, okay, well, I'll just go on the next game. And then you get all into that Falcons-Saints game and you go, holy shit, I don't know what to do.
And that's a lot of, Chinese Braille. I mean, you just look at it. These, I like to say kid in the candy store. If you open up the NFL menu and something's staring at you and jumping out like, oh my God, like you got to run to the window, do yourself a favor. Make a note of that and stand pat and just track it, because 9 out of 10 times when it looks too good, especially in the NFL, it is too good. And but that, again, you can say that about all these sports, but it's really in the NFL. I talk about it at length, Scotty. Those billion-dollar casinos and resorts in Vegas are built on NFL Sundays. Yeah, they're going to lose a handful of weeks, but they're going to win most of the time. And usually when they do win, there's some big weeks in there. And a lot of times it only takes one big upset to start the chain, the parlay cards, the teaser cards. It's all it takes. And you're sitting there touching your head and you're like looking at your balance saying, oh my God, what did I do? What did I do?
Well, it's kind of fun, right? Because as we sit here and do these shows, I don't know if people, and probably rightfully so, they should do both, right? They should listen to us before the show and either take notes or do whatever. And then after the games are over the next day, go back and listen to the show again. Did we give enough advice? Did we give enough breakdown? Did we give enough whatever to either steer you into a game or steer you off of a game? Because ultimately, that's kind of what we're trying to do. We're trying to say this is what we did. That doesn't mean you have to do what we do, because I'm not out here selling you plays. I'm just telling you what I did. Now that means you can follow, you can fade, you can do whatever you want to. But we also talk about other games that I didn't even play. So as we break certain things down, or you break certain things down, and as we go along, if you were to go back and listen to yesterday's college football game show, you would probably sit here and shoot yourself for not following along the advice that we were giving, the breakdowns of the plays, the things that happened, because just like you said, most of it all won. Now, that doesn't mean it's always going to be that way, but it does mean that there's reasoning behind what we're saying that most shows, most handicappers, most Twitter people, just because of competition and different things, I listen and watch and see what other people have to say sometimes. And Jeff, I sit here and I watch and I go, why do people believe any of this shit this guy says? Because ultimately what he's saying is, hey, listen, you got to go bet the New Orleans Saints today because shit, they're really good. And I told you they're really good. And that's why you got to go bet them. There's no substance. There's no nothing there. There's no reasoning. And then he goes on to say, well, you can buy my services and you can do this and they cost this amount of money and blah, blah, blah. And we're on this run and blah, 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 blah. I get it. That's the whole name of the game and how you sell plays. I get all that. And if you're just a pick buyer, and a lot of times you don't necessarily give a rat's ass what we say about why. All you want is a text that says this game, this game, this game, and then you go play, right? So you don't care. I get that. But there are those out there and understanding what we're doing and how this all works. And wouldn't you like to be the guy that doesn't have to pay another guy to go out there and make your plays? And then you sit there and go, oh, I figured this out. Well, I'm not going to tell you you're going to ever get to be that good. But at the same time, the truth of the matter is that there are ways and means you can learn a lot of stuff. And if you listen and you kind of watch us break stuff down, that guy you're paying picks for, and I'm not telling you not to pay for picks because I think that's a good thing. If you can't do it yourself, pay for them. But ask your guy that you're paying, can he break stuff down the way we do? Can he answer those questions the way we do? Because if he can't, you're doing the wrong thing.
Amen. I'm going to send a third basket around. Let's hear. It's yeah. I just wish more people would jump on board and let's start listening. What we're trying to preach and teach. Again, myself personally placed my first wager in 1975. Reds and Red Sox World Series. I was in 5th grade. So do the math right there. That's 46 years of, I have to say, experience. I really do. Started, in 5th grade. And then next thing you know, the middle school and high school, I was the kid running the football cards. I was the guy doing the $5 bets with the middle school and high school teachers. And then don't even get into the college days because those are a whole nother world. But the game has changed and the information has changed. I mean, social media has helped it, websites. I mean, there is so much information out there. And it's just, I guess, what you do with that information. And that's why we're here. And that's why we enjoy giving up our time, putting these shows together, just to hope to, listen, if we talked you off one game or we added a couple wins to your bankroll this week, God bless you. We're here to inform, educate. I don't care, whatever you guys want to call it. We're not here to blow smoke up anyone's skirts and dresses and say we're the greatest and we're hitting, 75, 80%, because that's not true. If you believe that's true, I got two bridges right to the left of me. It's called the Sagamore and the Bourne Bridge. We can, talk negotiations there. But anyways, listen, myself and Scott want to thank everyone here for listening. It's been a great day. It's been a great week, especially this weekend. Myself and Scott will be back tomorrow and Tuesday to break down whatever the board says it is, NHL, NBA, and NFL, MAC, maybe some early games on Thursday or next weekend. Whatever we can help to add to your portfolio, we're here to do it. So anyone wagering today, always wager with your head, not your heart. If you have a problem, pick up that phone. There's an 800 number right there. Ask for help. Why? Because we care. Myself and Scott would like you here for next week, next month, and 2022 and beyond. Stay in your lanes, please. It's NFL Sunday. Anything can happen any given Sunday. Have a hunch. Don't bet a bunch today. How's that sound? So for myself and Scott, have a blessed day. Best of luck with your wages, and we will see you next week. That's right. Tomorrow morning. Talk soon.